For these 6 individuals, being right wasn't just important, it was everything. But their relentless pursuit of control led them down a path where their final confrontation would be with death itself. These are stories of people whose sense of entitlement ultimately became their undoing. It was July 14, 2015, and the scorching Texas sun beat down mercilessly on the asphalt parking lot of the Target shopping center in Plano. The temperature had already climbed to 98 degrees by 2 p.m., creating shimmering heat waves that danced across the crowded lot filled with shoppers seeking air-conditioned relief. The smell of hot concrete mixed with exhaust fumes from idling cars as families hurried between their vehicles and the store's automatic doors. Patricia Williams adjusted her oversized sunglasses as she surveyed the parking lot like a general inspecting troops. At 42, the real estate agent had earned a reputation throughout her neighborhood as the unofficial parking enforcement officer, documenting violations with the dedication of a professional investigator. Her silver Honda Civic contained a glove compartment stuffed with printed parking regulations, a measuring tape, and a notebook filled with license plate numbers of repeat offenders. Patricia had been involved in over 30 documented disputes with neighbors, store employees, and complete strangers over the past year alone. Her homeowners association had received so many complaints about her confrontational behavior that they'd issued her a formal warning about harassment. But Patricia saw herself as a crusader for order in a chaotic world, someone willing to do what others were too cowardly to attempt. The motorcycle caught her attention immediately. A gleaming black Harley-Davidson parked diagonally across 2 prime spaces near the store entrance. Patricia's blood pressure spiked as she calculated the injustice. One selfish person taking up 2 spots during peak shopping hours while families circled the lot searching for parking. She pulled out her phone and began recording, her voice dripping with righteous indignation as she documented what she planned to be her most viral confrontation yet. Patricia positioned herself directly behind the 800-pound motorcycle, her phone camera capturing every detail as she delivered a scathing monologue about parking etiquette and social responsibility. The absent owner would return to find their bike properly positioned, she declared, because someone needed to teach these inconsiderate people a lesson about community standards. Despite having zero experience with motorcycles, Patricia grabbed the handlebars and attempted to push the massive machine into a single parking space. The Harley's weight immediately overwhelmed her 130-pound frame, and she lost her balance as the bike tilted beyond her control. The motorcycle crashed down on top of her with devastating force, its full weight crushing her chest and pinning her arms beneath the hot metal. Patricia struggled desperately under the crushing weight, her phone still recording as she gasped for air that wouldn't come. The motorcycle's engine guard pressed against her ribcage, preventing her lungs from expanding while the scorching exhaust pipe burned through her blouse. Her legs kicked frantically against the asphalt as she fought to free herself, but the bike's position made escape impossible. A few minutes later, a Target employee discovered Patricia's body still trapped beneath the motorcycle, her phone's battery finally dead after recording her entire ordeal. Security footage revealed her confident approach and fatal miscalculation, while her final video showed the moment her parking lot vigilantism turned deadly. The motorcycle's owner returned to find police tape and paramedics, completely unaware that his parking choice had inadvertently caused a death. Patricia's story became a viral cautionary tale about the dangers of taking justice into your own hands. It was March 22, 2016, and the dinner rush at Olive Garden in Fresno, California, was in full swing as servers weaved between tables carrying steaming plates of pasta and breadsticks. The restaurant's warm lighting created a cozy atmosphere, while the sounds of clinking silverware and conversation filled the 200-seat dining room. The kitchen operated at peak efficiency, with line cooks coordinating their movements in the choreographed dance of professional food service. Susan Martinez sat at table 47, her notebook open and pen poised as she documented every perceived violation of health codes and service standards. At 38, the insurance claims adjuster had transformed dining out into a full-time investigation, carrying sanitizing wipes, a digital thermometer, and a magnifying glass to examine food preparation from her table. Her purse contained printed copies of health department regulations and business cards identifying her as a concerned citizen advocate. Susan had been banned from 4 restaurants in the past 6 months for disruptive behavior, including climbing over a counter at Applebee's to inspect their ice machine and demanding to see food storage temperatures at Denny's. She maintained a detailed spreadsheet of violations and had filed 17 complaints with the health department, though none had resulted in citations. Tonight's visit to Olive Garden was part of her systematic campaign to clean up Fresno's restaurant industry. When Susan observed a server briefly touch the rim of a plate while delivering salad, she immediately demanded to speak with the manager. Her voice carried across the dining room as she accused the staff of flagrant health code violations and threatened to shut down the restaurant with a single phone call. The manager, trained in de-escalation techniques, politely explained their sanitation procedures while offering to comp her meal. Susan's demands escalated as she insisted on conducting her own kitchen inspection, claiming she had authority as a tax-paying citizen to ensure public safety. When the manager refused her entry to the restricted kitchen area, Susan announced she would find her own way in to gather evidence of the violations she was certain existed. During a shift change, Susan slipped through the employee entrance and into the bustling kitchen, her phone camera ready to document what she expected to be shocking health violations. She climbed onto a stainless steel prep counter to photograph what she believed were code violations in the ceiling ventilation system. As she stretched for a better camera angle, her shoes slid on the freshly sanitized surface, and she lost her footing, tumbling off the counter. She twisted in midair and landed face first in an industrial deep fryer that had been left open during a routine oil filter change. Scalding 350-degree oil covered her upper body as she screamed in agony, the sound echoing through the kitchen while staff rushed to pull her out. The burns covered more than 60% of her body, and the superheated vapors severely damaged her airways. Paramedics arrived within 6 minutes, but Susan's injuries were beyond treatment. She died at Community Regional Medical Center 3 hours later, her phone containing dozens of photos of normal kitchen operations that she had misinterpreted as violations. The restaurant was temporarily closed during the investigation, which concluded that Susan had illegally entered a restricted area and caused her own death through reckless behavior. It was August 9th, 2017, and the Phoenix sun blazed mercilessly at 115 degrees as heat waves shimmered off the perfectly manicured lawns of Sunset Ridge subdivision. The upscale neighborhood's Spanish-style homes sat behind pristine landscaping, their red tile roofs reflecting the brutal Arizona heat, while automatic sprinkler systems worked overtime to maintain the HOA's strict aesthetic standards. The smell of hot concrete and desert dust hung in the still air, as most residents remained indoors during the peak heat hours. Margaret Thompson emerged from her air-conditioned home at 2 p.m., armed with a measuring tape, ruler, and violation notice pad that had become her weapons of choice. At 45, the Homeowners Association board member had appointed herself as the neighborhood's unofficial enforcement officer, conducting daily patrols with the intensity of a military inspection. Her garage contained filing cabinets filled with violation documentation, photographs of infractions, and a detailed map marking every property that had ever violated HOA standards. Margaret had been feuding with her neighbor Jim Rodriguez for 8 months over his lawn maintenance, issuing 17 violation notices for grass that exceeded the HOA's maximum height of 3 inches. She had purchased professional landscaping tools to ensure her measurements were legally defensible and had threatened Jim with daily fines of $50 until his lawn met community standards. Her obsession with grass height had consumed her life, leading to sleepless nights spent planning enforcement strategies. The scorching afternoon presented the perfect opportunity to build her case against Jim while he was at work. Margaret had been monitoring his watering schedule and knew the grass would be at its tallest after the morning irrigation cycle. She planned to document every blade that exceeded regulations, creating an ironclad case for the HOA board meeting scheduled for the following week. Margaret spent over 90 minutes in the blazing sun, methodically measuring individual grass blades with her ruler while the temperature climbed past 115 degrees. Her focus on documentation was so intense that she ignored her body's warning signs, the dizziness, nausea, and confusion that indicated dangerous heat exhaustion. Sweat poured down her face as she crawled across Jim's lawn, her notebook filling with precise measurements that she believed would finally end their dispute. As her core body temperature reached 104 degrees, Margaret became disoriented but continued her crucial work of grass measurement. She collapsed face down on the very lawn she had been obsessively monitoring, her measuring tape still clutched in her hand as heat stroke shut down her vital organs. Her body temperature soared to 108 degrees as she lay unconscious on the 3.2-inch grass that had consumed her thoughts for months. Jim discovered Margaret's body when he returned from work at 6 p.m., immediately calling 911 despite their ongoing feud. Paramedics pronounced her dead from heat stroke, with her violation notices scattered around her body like confetti. The HOA board was forced to acknowledge that Margaret had no legal authority to conduct property inspections, and her death led to policy changes requiring board members to work in pairs and avoid extreme weather conditions. It was November 18, 2014, and the fluorescent lights of the Jacksonville Walmart Supercenter buzzed overhead as Black Friday shoppers began their early holiday preparations. The massive 180,000-square-foot store hummed with activity as customers navigated aisles stocked with seasonal merchandise, while cashiers prepared for the upcoming shopping frenzy. The customer service desk already showed signs of stress with returns and exchanges, creating long lines of frustrated shoppers. Linda Davis wheeled her overflowing shopping cart toward the checkout lanes, followed by 3 additional carts she had strategically positioned throughout the store during her 6-hour shopping expedition. At 39, the part-time bookkeeper had transformed extreme couponing into a full-time obsession, spending over 40 hours per week organizing deals and planning elaborate shopping trips that she documented on her blog. Her dining room table had been converted into a coupon command center with filing systems that would impress corporate accountants. Linda had been banned from 3 other Walmart locations for aggressive behavior during coupon disputes, including a 2-hour standoff over expired manufacturer coupons and a physical altercation with a cashier who questioned her coupon authenticity. She carried a 3-ring binder containing 847 coupons for today's trip, organized by product category and expiration date, expecting to pay less than $50 for over $2,000 worth of merchandise. Her husband had threatened divorce twice over her coupon obsession, particularly after she converted their guest bedroom into a storage facility for her inventory. Linda's blog followers worshipped her ability to game the system, but store employees across Jacksonville had begun sharing her photo in break rooms, warning each other about the woman who turned simple transactions into hours-long ordeals. Her shopping strategy involved purchasing items in bulk when coupons offered the best deals, then stockpiling products in her garage until she could use them or resell them online. Linda's neighbors had complained about delivery trucks constantly arriving at her house, and her homeowners association had cited her for operating a business from her residence. The checkout process began at 4:30 p.m. and immediately devolved into chaos as Linda presented coupon after coupon while arguing about store policies with increasingly frustrated cashiers. 3 managers were called to resolve disputes over expired coupons, fraudulent manufacturer offers, and quantity limits that Linda insisted didn't apply to her. The line behind her grew to over 20 customers as her transaction consumed 2 full hours. Linda's voice grew shriller with each rejected coupon, her face turning crimson as she quoted corporate policy numbers and threatened legal action against individual employees. When the store manager informed Linda that 247 of her coupons were expired or fraudulent, she exploded into a rage that could be heard throughout the front of the store. She demanded to speak with the district manager and leaned aggressively over the customer service counter, shouting about corporate policies and threatening to sue the store for discrimination. Her 3-ring binder fell open, spilling hundreds of carefully organized coupons across the floor as she stepped onto a small platform behind the counter to get a better view. Linda lost her footing on the wet surface, slipped on promotional flyers scattered across the platform, and fell backward, striking her head on the concrete floor with a sickening crack that silenced the entire checkout area. Her skull fractured on impact, causing massive brain hemorrhaging as her carefully organized coupons scattered across the floor like confetti. She lost consciousness immediately, her body convulsing as customers screamed and employees called 911. Emergency responders found Linda surrounded by hundreds of coupons, many of which investigators later determined were sophisticated counterfeits. She died at Memorial Hospital from her head injuries, with police discovering over $50,000 worth of fraudulent coupons in her possession. Walmart implemented new policies, limiting coupon quantities and requiring identification for large coupon transactions, while Linda's death became a case study in retail fraud training programs. It was June 3, 2018, and the original Starbucks location in Seattle's Pike Place Market buzzed with its usual mix of tourists and coffee enthusiasts. The historic coffeehouse's exposed brick walls and vintage fixtures created an authentic atmosphere, while baristas worked behind the curved counter, crafting drinks for customers who lined up to experience the birthplace of the global coffee empire. The afternoon crowd included business professionals, students, and social media influencers documenting their Seattle experience for their followers. Jennifer Clark positioned herself strategically near the pickup counter, her phone already live streaming to her 1,200 followers as she prepared for what she expected to be her most viral confrontation yet. At 35, the social media manager had built her online presence by posting daily videos of herself, exposing poor customer service and confronting workers who failed to meet her standards. Her Instagram account featured dozens of videos showing her berating minimum wage employees, while her followers cheered her on in the comments. Jennifer had developed a systematic approach to creating viral content, deliberately ordering complicated custom drinks and then escalating minor mistakes into major confrontations. She carried a ring light and phone tripod to ensure professional quality footage of her public meltdowns, treating each incident like a carefully choreographed performance designed to generate maximum engagement and outrage. Her complicated order, a venti iced skinny vanilla latte with oat milk, extra foam, light ice, 2 pumps of sugar-free vanilla, and cinnamon powder, had been prepared by a nervous teenage barista who accidentally used regular vanilla syrup instead of sugar-free. Jennifer saw this as the perfect opportunity to create content that would trend across multiple platforms while simultaneously destroying the young employee's confidence. Jennifer climbed onto a wooden chair and then onto a small cafe table to get the perfect camera angle, while live streaming her tirade about unacceptable service standards to her growing audience. Her followers flooded the chat with fire emojis and encouragement as she gestured wildly, pointing at the terrified barista while delivering a scathing monologue about millennial work ethic and customer service failures. The antique cafe table, designed for coffee cups rather than supporting a 140-pound adult, began to wobble under Jennifer's animated movements. She was so focused on her performance and the positive feedback from her livestream audience that she ignored the creaking sounds and unstable surface beneath her feet. The table collapsed suddenly, sending Jennifer crashing into the antique glass pastry display case below. The impact shattered the old glass into large, jagged shards, one of which sliced deep into her neck and severed her carotid artery. Blood sprayed across the white tile floor as her phone continued live streaming, hundreds of followers watching in shock as her final moments played out in real time. The teenage barista, whom she had been humiliating, screamed and ran to get help while customers called 911. Paramedics arrived within 4 minutes, but couldn't control the arterial bleeding caused by the glass shards embedded in Jennifer's neck. Her live stream captured her final gasps as she died on the Starbucks floor, surrounded by broken glass and spilled coffee. Jennifer's death went viral for all the wrong reasons, becoming a cautionary tale about social media obsession and the dangers of treating real people as content for online entertainment. The teenage barista quit her job and required months of counseling after witnessing the traumatic death, while Starbucks implemented new policies about customer behavior and installed safety barriers around all display cases. It was December 15th, 2013, and the Best Buy electronics store in Atlanta hummed with pre-holiday shopping activity as customers browsed the latest gadgets and televisions. The 45,000-square-foot showroom displayed wall-mounted TVs of every size, while sales associates helped families choose entertainment systems for their holiday celebrations. The customer service desk already showed signs of holiday stress with returns and exchanges creating longer than usual wait times. Carol Johnson wheeled a massive box containing a 65-inch LED television toward the returns counter, her face set in the determined expression that Best Buy employees had learned to dread. At 44, the retail manager had ironically become the store's most notorious customer, exploiting return policies with the precision of a legal scholar and the persistence of a debt collector. Her home office contained detailed spreadsheets tracking return periods, warranty terms, and manager contact information for every major retailer in Atlanta. Carol had been returning the same model television to Best Buy every few months for over 2 years, claiming various defects to secure full refunds before purchasing identical replacement units. Store employees recognized her elaborate scheme, but were required to process returns that technically met policy requirements, despite their suspicions about her fraudulent activities. Her pattern had cost the store thousands in restocking fees and damaged merchandise write-offs. She had perfected her performance over dozens of returns, memorizing corporate policy language and practicing her outraged customer routine in front of her bathroom mirror. Carol's neighbors had grown suspicious of the constant delivery trucks arriving at her house, followed by her mysterious trips to various electronics stores with identical boxes. The electronics manager, familiar with Carol's history, requested additional documentation for her 6th TV return of the year. Carol's voice rose to a volume that attracted attention throughout the electronics department as she accused the staff of discrimination and threatened to post negative reviews across every social media platform and review website. Her face flushed red as she pulled out her phone, waving it menacingly while reciting corporate policy numbers she had memorized specifically for these confrontations. Carol grabbed the 80-pound TV box to demonstrate the obvious defects she claimed had appeared, dragging the heavy package onto the counter with effort. Fueled by anger, she tried to lift the front end of the box high enough to show the damage to the manager. Her arms shook violently under the weight, the cardboard flexing as she struggled to keep her grip. Mid-rant, her sweaty hands slipped. The 80-pound box toppled forward off the counter, striking her shoulder and forcing her violently off balance. Carol stumbled backward and lost her footing on the tile floor, falling hard and striking the back of her head. The combined impact of the box and her fall caused a loud, sickening crack that echoed through the electronics department. She lay motionless, her arms twitching. The fall had fractured her cervical vertebrae and severely damaged her spinal cord, leaving her unable to breathe on her own. Employees rushed to lift the box off her and called 911, but Carol went into cardiac arrest minutes later and was pronounced dead shortly after paramedics arrived. Investigation revealed her extensive return fraud scheme, with records showing she had illegally returned over $30,000 in merchandise across multiple stores using fabricated defect claims. Best Buy implemented new return tracking systems and policies to prevent similar fraud schemes, while Carol's death was ruled accidental despite her criminal activities. The incident became a training case for retail workers about the importance of following return policies while maintaining safety protocols, and her estate faced criminal charges for the fraudulent return scheme that had consumed her final years. Thanks for watching. Click the next video for more stories that will make you think twice about picking unnecessary fights with the world around you.